Hopefully, you don't ever find yourself in a situation where you can't play your favorite hobby. But many of us do find periods in our lives where we just can't sit down and play a TTRPG or a war game for, weeks, months, maybe even years. But there are still ways to stay engaged with the hobby, so when you do get to play again, you can jump right back in. I've had a few times where I've been between campaigns or had to search for a new group due to life changes like people moving. And right now, with a toddler, I'm finding it really hard to find the time and, frankly, energy to game, especially in person. Plus, my online game went on a hiatus right after our daughter was born, so it's been over a year since I've played or ran a game. But that doesn't mean I don't consider myself part of and actively engaged in the tabletop role-playing hobby and community. So how do I stay engaged? One of the ways is watching and listening to actual plays. For me, I've been watching Critical Role for years, and in the last year, I've gotten really into watching as well as listening to the podcasts of Dimension 20. A good actual play can make it feel a little like you're at the table with them. Sure, it's not the same, you aren't in the game, and there can be some weird, parasocial stuff that you probably want to stay away from, but it keeps the terms and rules fresh. Often, I find myself thinking of how one of my characters would approach a challenge I hear in the show. Plus, I often will get ideas for characters, stories, and encounters from actual plays. I'm often not able to watch them when they air, so I'm not as involved in chat and various Discord discussions to discuss theories and what's going on and, oh, I would have made a different choice here. But I know many people who are engaged in that and who find that as another way to stay engaged in the hobby. Speaking of that, another way to stay engaged is through the online community. Hi, online community. Like watching and commenting on YouTube videos. Obviously, for me, making these videos has kept me engaged in the hobby, but I also watch a lot of other creators' videos. I keep up to date on news through Twitter and Discord groups, and that makes me feel like I'm still part of the hobby. I know what new things are coming out that I want to keep an eye out for. I know about changes to systems I love. I know about the drama, and sometimes I don't necessarily want to know that, but I'm still involved. And I also will get new ideas for the next time I can play. There are many places like Discord where you can find folks to discuss the hobby with. And hey, maybe you'll even find some new folks to game with through those locations. Locations? Sites. That's a better term. Next, reading books is a great way to stay engaged, whether it's reading through rulebooks, settings, or even just fiction that's, set in your favorite world. You might learn something new about the game or setting that you love to play in. It's also a great opportunity to look into a new system or setting and see if that's something you want to create or play in the future. Plus, reading stuff is just fun. I mean, you can't see all of them, but we've got lots of books. Ryan right now is really excited about all of the stuff that's coming out about 10th edition Warhammer. He's been listening to a bunch of the audiobooks and really enjoying them. He only gets to play a couple times a year, but he still considers himself actively involved in the community by listening to these audiobooks and keeping up to date on what's going on. Big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Alicia. If you want to pick up some really cool perks and support our channel, support us making more videos, you can head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and pick your patron level today. Okay, let's get back to the advice. There are also a lot of parts of the hobby that isn't just playing, like painting and creating miniatures, maps, creating your own supplements or games. Some might be stuff that you just do for you and your table to enjoy, like miniatures, but you can also create stuff for other people, like creating and publishing supplements. It's what I do with these videos as well as the maps I draw. And while I'm painting a miniature or drawing a map, I'm often thinking about how I'd use it in my game. Which leads me into my next tip, which is it's something I do quite a bit, especially between games, and that's creating characters I would play, world building, or coming up with ideas for sessions I could run. I've got a number of character concepts I've come up with over the years that are just, sitting in this little catalog that I'm just waiting for the right game to play. I'm sure you probably have a folder or, a mental catalog of characters as well. It's really fun for me to come up with backstories. I might flip through a rule book to see if a particular character class or mechanic sparks an idea. I might jot down an NPC location or encounter idea for the next time I run a game. This kind of brainstorming I find is especially easy to do kind of wherever you are. I've come up with a handful of ideas while I've been sitting up with the baby at night or on my commute or just, sitting around, sitting in a coffee shop waiting to meet up with somebody and just kind of like, letting my mind wander and then getting cool ideas. My final bit of advice, if you're finding you can't game, is look into if there's an alternative method. For example, if for whatever reason you can't game in person, maybe you shift to playing online games. If you don't have the consecutive time for a full session, it can sometimes be very hard to find those like 3 to 4 hour regular blocks of time in your schedule. You might try doing like a play by post where you can kind of play as you have time. You may have to get creative as well as find folks who are going to be flexible and creative with you, but there are a lot of ways to stay engaged in the hobby, even if it's not, physically sitting together and playing at a table. So, how about you? Have you found yourself in a period where you just can't game? How have you stayed engaged with the hobby? Let's chat about that more in the comments below. And if you're looking at shifting to playing some online games, we've done a video all about kind of our how to play games online, set yourself up for success. And make sure you're subscribed because in a couple weeks we have another video that's going to be coming out talking about getting back into your hobby after a hiatus. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye! Oh. Uh-oh. That's her favorite word right now.